So hello, Marteen Santerre here with SoulBeing, and today I'm speaking with Stephanie Walsh.
Hello.
So Stephanie is a Master Nutritionist Therapist and eating psychology coach, which sounds super interesting, as well as a personal trainer. So lots of amazing experience and knowledge. So today we're going to talk about food allergies, because that's something that's very common that people struggle with. So let's start with, what is a food allergy?
Okay. So a food allergy, and there are two different types.
Okay.
So there is the immediate onset food allergy that we think of when we think of a food allergy, something that's going to happen immediately after you eat that food, and you never want to eat that food again.
Okay.
So it's really easy to avoid that food. With a delayed onset food allergy, that's something that can be a little bit more subtle, and it can take anywhere from 2 hours to 72 hours, so or 3 days later.
3 days for you to realize you're allergic to something, at which point you are not even connecting it to the food.
Yeah, it's harder to connect it to a food if you don't realize that it's a potential food source. Yeah.
Okay, got it.
Yeah.
So then what are some of the most common symptoms that are connected to those food allergies, especially for, I guess, for this conversation, we'll focus on the delayed onset, because a lot of people don't know what you eat after 3 days that's causing an allergy. So what are some of the most common symptoms that people can look for?
So the most common symptoms that a lot of people can relate to are digestive symptoms, so abdominal pain, bloating, distension, diarrhea, or constipation. But what a lot of people don't realize is that brain fog, fatigue, migraines, skin rashes, joint pain, a lot of things can be tied to a food that they have an allergy or an allergic reaction to.
Okay.
Yeah.
So most people don't think of that.
Exactly.
Yeah. So they're not connecting that to food.
Yeah.
So what are the types of foods that trigger those issues?
There are a lot of different foods, and the food allergy panel that you can get a test for tests up to 190 different foods.
Wow.
But the most common ones are gluten, dairy, corn, soy, eggs, and peanuts are the 6 common ones.
And so are there certain, I think about 100, like thinking of 190 different types of food, seems like that's more than the type of food that there is. So I guess are there other things that might be derivatives of like corn or soy that people can look for in certain ingredients to know that something contains something?
Yeah, a lot of things that have soy will have soy in the name, in the ingredient list. So reading ingredient list is very, very important. But corn can be hiding in certain things, like maltodextrin is actually a corn derivative.
Okay.
So, and a lot of labels won't say has corn. It'll say includes, wheat or dairy or soy.
The more common things that people think of.
The more common things as potential food allergies.
Okay, interesting. So then with that, I guess, how do you find out if you're allergic to any of those things?
Yeah. So you have that food allergy panel, but the gold standard has been a food elimination diet. Okay. So foods that you think may be causing a problem for you, you would eliminate them, or at least those 6 common food allergens that I just talked about. Okay. You eliminate them for 3 to 6 weeks, and you introduce them one at a time. So you want to make sure that you give yourself enough time to see if you have any kind of symptoms once you've reintroduced it.
Got it. Because you don't want to introduce a couple things at once and not be able to really hone in on what the issue is.
Yeah.
So is there are there specific conditions or specific symptoms that are connected to certain foods, or does it really depend on the person?
It definitely depends on the person. And one of the things that I have noticed is that it will present in the weakest area of your body. So if you're prone to migraines, if you're prone to digestive symptoms, if you're prone to skin conditions, then a food allergy may present as that, where someone may eat gluten and they have joint pain, or someone might eat another person eat gluten and they get migraines.
Great. So it really does not great, but it definitely depends on the person.
Yeah, just like everyone's individual, the way that you react to a food allergen is individual as well.
Interesting. So then I guess kind of on this topic, maybe you can tell us a little bit about leaky gut, because I feel like that's something that is potentially connected to food allergies, or maybe it is connected.
It is connected,
and kind of how to explain that in a way that people can understand, because I think it's one of those things that's talked about a lot. Yeah. They're like, how do I know if I have a leaky gut?
Yeah. So a leaky gut or it's also called intestinal permeability. It's increasing. Yeah, that's why everyone just calls it leaky gut.
Gut's way easier.
Yes, it's way easier. But essentially what's going on is, think of the cells in your intestines are really tightly held together and allowing only the things that are supposed to be going through into the bloodstream or into the portal vein for circulation into the liver.
So those things are like nutrients, right?
Nutrients, water, electrolytes, stuff like that. So when you have damage to your intestinal lining, those tight junctions actually start loosening up and creating these bigger holes. And food that isn't properly broken down goes directly into your bloodstream. And so if it's a piece of almond that hasn't completely broken down into its amino acids, your body sees that as a foreign substance and mounts an attack on it.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah.
And so how does that manifest in your body then?
As a food allergy.
As a food allergy.
Yeah.
All right.
And when it comes to the delayed food allergies, you can actually reduce your allergic response by healing that gut lining. Okay. So that's part of what I would do with a client, is heal that gut lining while you're trying to figure out what foods you are currently having a reaction to.
Okay, great. And is there ever an instance where a person has that leaky gut happening and you have identified that allergen, and as they heal the gut, they're able to eat that food again?
Yes.
Wonderful.
Yeah, I've had clients who have done the food allergy test. We remove the foods, we do gut healing, do the test again. We found those numbers have gone down, and they've been able to tolerate those foods again.
Okay, very cool.
Yeah.
How do you do that gut healing?
One very simple one is using bone broth. So homemade bone broth, or we have a couple of places where you can get bone broth in a store.
Okay.
So that can just 1 cup a day as either a hot tea, or you can put it in vegetables or put it in rice or quinoa or something like that. But that has a lot of gut healing properties.
Okay, wonderful. Yeah. Cool. That's wonderful. Well, thank you for sharing that.
Thank you.
Food allergies are something we can all deal with and combat, and it's good to know that there are easy ways to address them.
Yes.
So Stephanie Walsh, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks.